protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation. This is an executive order sent out by the president, of course. And it is addressing the fact that children are all too frequently, I don't know if it's convinced, but they're told that they should be changing their gender as opposed to allowing their bodies to develop and go through puberty naturally. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1 policy and purpose. Across the country today, medical professionals are maiming and sterilizing a growing number of impressionable children under the radical and false claim that adults can change a child's sex through a series of irreversible medical interventions. This dangerous trend will be a stain on our nation's history, and it must end, and I say good.
Amen.
Good that this is done.
I like it.
The idea that you could change your gender is ridiculous. It is absolutely absurd. And if you want to dress as the other sex, because I don't even believe in gender anymore. I think that because how do you describe gender? Like, what is a gender? Is your sex spirit? What is that? What is the
literal
Is
definition?
it the way you dress? Is it the way you feel inside? So does it change?
Well, apparently it's the way you feel inside.
Yeah, well, that sounds like you need to have breakfast because it's all horseshit to me. The idea that you can change your sex, go from a male to a female or vice versa, is absolutely ridiculous. Because even if you have a Franken penis or if you have a neo vagina or whatever, those things are not natural and they take an immense amount of upkeep beyond what a natural human being is. You're not going to change the way your pelvis is shaped, and women's pelvises are shaped differently because women are intended to have kids. This is all just messing kids up. It's mutilating children. It is absolutely abhorrent, and I think that the Trump administration should be lauded for this, and anyone that says anything else is empowering the abuse and mutilation of children.
This is where I agree with you. Is gender is a social concept. According to Wikipedia, social concept that distinguishes the difference between gender categories. I don't know why they use the definition in the word in the definition. Includes social, psychological, cultural, behavior aspects of being a man. So it's the behavioral aspects, which, sure, if you want to act like a woman, maybe that's your gender. But you can't change your sex by cutting yourself or taking drugs. It doesn't change your sex. They call it a sex change, but it doesn't literally change. Like a
You're
trans woman is a biological
that
man that is displaying as a woman, but still a biological man. So that's the issue, is that people, if a kid thinks that they can literally change their sex by taking some sort of surgery or like a hormonal drug and they're under 18, I think that is
kids
very,
don't
very
know
dangerous.
what the hell they want, right? Yep. Like kids change all the time. I didn't know what I wanted when I was 11. I didn't know what I wanted when I was 13. I knew I like girls, right? But definitely the idea that someone can make it, you can't buy cigarettes yet, but you can choose to have a sex change. You could choose to be, sex change is the wrong word. It's chemically castrated, right?
Yeah, it's mutilating
That is
the body.
insane. It is absolutely insane. It's irreversible. And now you have no sex. You're never going to have an orgasm. You're never going to have a baby, right? Whether you're male or female, you are now sterile. That's a crime. So you can't buy cigarettes. You can't buy a beer, but you can sterilize yourself. You can choose. Like, that's insane.
I think they made it illegal in the UK a while ago after the Tavistock debacle, when it came out that it wasn't helping young people like they thought it was. Like, suicide rates were not going down. I mean, I don't know all the stats on this, but I believe that it was like in Europe, they were kind of early on saying, okay, no more of this. And I'm surprised it took this long. I'm not really, because we needed a new commander-in-chief to kind of realign the conversation. Biden was kind of checked out on this thing. So, and it felt like he had deferred to the medical industry, who was profiting hand over fist on these surgeries. So, I mean, I'm not shocked that this happened, but it's good.
For me, I think, and I've been saying this for a while now, I think a lot of the people who are pushing this, and I'm talking about parents, where their kid says some innocuous thing, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, no, Timmy's a girl. I think they just want to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm the parent of a transgender child.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's their designer child, you know.
Yeah.
This is Timmy, but we're gonna rename her Tina, and she is really a female that was just born in the wrong body. And now you get to walk around and have this child, and now because you're the parent of one, it puts you in that classification of, oh yes, and this applies to me as well because I'm their parent. It's the same thing if you remember the mid to late 90s when everybody wanted their kid to be gay. Yeah. Because now you have this designer child that now, you know, I'm part of the LGBTQ community as well because I'm their parent. It goes back to socialism where you're either the oppressed or the oppressor. And you can't be the oppressor. So now you're going to do everything to see yourself and view yourself and actively become a part of the oppressed.
I saw a tweet the other day, and I wish that I saved it, but essentially the comment was something like, this young man, he was a white kid that was getting told that he's an oppressor and he's bad and because he's a male and he's white, et cetera, et cetera. And he was told all these things. And 2 years later, he's a girl. If you're told that you are the epitome of evil just by the nature of your skin color and your sex, then you're told, but there's a way out of it. By becoming a member of the LGBTQ community, some kind of queer, trans, gay, whatever. If you adopt that mantle, then you're no longer an oppressor. You're one of the oppressed.
There's also the
What
term-
is that going to do? That's going to make a ton of weak young men say, I want to be in that group. And it's going to make another group, another portion of those young men that are defiant say, well, F you. Then I'm going to go ahead and find the most offensive, and that's why we have a problem with Nazis and National Socialists and stuff, and dudes with the real extreme right, because they're like, well, you're calling me all these things anyways. Those guys don't call me these things. They don't hate me for who I am. So why shouldn't I?
And in addition to kids being pressured into feeling like they need to change their sex, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's happening, there's the term ally, which I've heard over the last, 8 years, 9 years. I didn't really hear that before 2010. And that's someone that's just like, okay, fine, I'm on their side. They've picked a side. And like, what are you allying with exactly in that instance? I'm
an ally of
I've
humanity.
always said,
you know, just in general, people. It doesn't have to be LGBTQ or whatever. I think to sympathize with a specific cause like that is weird, right?
Well, I've always said this whole thing with the classrooms now, because now you have teachers who they're hell bent on, I'm going to teach your children to call me Zay Zum or whatever it is. I'm going to, I'm going to show up in class dressed like this. And kids who are naturally curious are going to ask, hey, who are you? Why are you dressed like this? Oh, well, now it's my chance to educate you. I've always said, when did parents lose the right to say, I'm not comfortable with this? Yeah. I don't want you talking to my child about this. If you can't show up in class and looking professional, then I don't want you there. If I show up to a classroom wearing a huge cross, I'm told to take it off because I don't want you spreading your religion in class. Kids are going to start asking about that. I'm uncomfortable with that. But I can show up with a rainbow shirt with the new LGBTQIA plus LMNOP flag. And with green hair, with horns growing out my head, and kids go, hey, look at you. What are you? Oh, now it's my chance. That's smiled upon. When did parents lose the right to say, you know what? No, that's not cool. I don't want that.
Well, you're hateful if you do that now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that the right to do that was lost when the argument over teaching reproductive stuff in schools was, when the schools were empowered to teach the reproduction of I forget what it is, sex ed. There you go. When the schools were like, okay, we're going to teach sex ed, and parents were like, well, we're uncomfortable with our kids learning at this age, and the parents lost the ability to say, don't teach that to my kid at this time. I want to decide when my kids learn this stuff. Once that was lost, then it was all downhill after.
Is there no, parents don't have to sign off on that anymore? It's just anymore. Automatically?
Yeah.
Because when I was in school,
I remember when I was in school, they sent the curriculum home and they said, this is exactly what we're going to be talking about. This is the guidelines and sign off on it.
Yeah, but remember when COVID happened, there were a ton of parents that learned that their kids were being taught things that they had no idea. That's a big part of why this kind of stuff got out, like the LGBT training or schooling and stuff. Kids didn't, parents didn't know that their kids were learning this stuff. And then when COVID happened and you had the remote learning, parents looked in on their classes and they were like, what in God's name is going on at that school? And people started to make a stink. And that was when then the Biden administration, when the Biden administration got in, they started calling parents, problems, calling the FBI to monitor the parents because they were saying we have a problem with our children learning these things. The federal government really had taken the position that children were the responsibility of the federal government and parents were only to look after them when they weren't in school.
I remember a story where this mother, she had her kid doing schoolwork at the kitchen table, right? She was doing the schoolwork and she was in the kitchen doing her thing and she's listening in the background and then she hears about this weird ideology that's going on. And I remember the story. I don't know what they were talking about specifically, but it was like this whole where you are can be who you want to be, transgender, critical, what's it called? Critical sex theory? What's it again?
There's critical gender theory, critical race theory, there's critical theory in general. And then
right, but they were talking critical gender theory to this young person, and it just blew her mind. She's like, where the F did this come from? She had no idea what was going on. For example of Phil, because that stuck out in my brain. It still sticks in my brain. She's just chilling there. You're chilling in your house and you're having a good time, and your kids going to school. Next thing you know, they're getting taught this weird stuff, and you're like, wait a second, hold on, where did that come from? That's weird, crazy.
Well, this also goes along with all of a sudden parents started figuring out that in their children's library, there are books on that graphically describe how they give oral sex and everything. And the parents are like, wait a minute, wait a minute. You've got pictures here, you've got descriptions. What's going on here? And then you have to left go, oh, well, you just want to censor these books. No, I don't. I don't want a book like this in my child's classroom. And that's why I keep asking, when did parents lose the ability to say, I'm not cool with this. I'm not comfortable with this. I don't have to go along with it. And then the left tries to figure out why the right is now considering homeschooling or moving so much into homeschooling. It's because you guys took the educational curriculum and went nuts with it.
Yep.
I think we need vouchers.
Oh,
absolutely.
I mean,
we need choice. We need school choice, right? Yeah, because private school solves a lot of these problems. You choose the school that has the values that you like, but not everyone can afford to forego the taxes that they paid for public education and pony up extra money for private school. Why don't we have school vouchers? Because we don't want parents to be able to choose? I mean, it seems like it, right?
You just gave yourself your own answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that actually kind of goes without saying. The federal government, you can listen to the way the Democrats talk and, they say it openly. They may not intend to say it openly, but they do. The way they talk about our children and the things that our children, and I think Hillary Clinton said something along the lines of, they're all of our children. They're not just your children. And they take the idea that the children of America are the actual future of America, and they say, well, because of that, they're too valuable for parents to raise. We have to raise them the right way. And really, what they end up doing is destroying a significant amount of them. If you've got, I don't know how many kids graduate from college per year, but I think it's on Google that for me. But if you get, just say 5% of the kids that graduate from from college every year, and they are activists, right? And they're actually activists for the Democrat cause.
4.16 million students.
4.16 million.
From post-secondary and postgraduate programs.
So if you get just 5% of that as activists every year, every couple of years, every few years, you get 1 million new activists in the country. And if they're committed...
And they are too.
And they are, yeah, absolutely. If they're committed to things like this, then you're going to have a significant population looking to change the makeup of the country, the political makeup of the country.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.